Proposition 2 is not about politics. It's about protecting Spokane's economy.
I'm opposed to Proposition 2.
I'm opposed to Prop 2.
I'm opposed to Proposition 2.
Proposition 2 just doesn't make sense.
I am opposing Proposition 2.
I'm against Proposition 2.
I'm opposed to Proposition 2.
I'm opposed to Prop 2 because we have to protect Spokane's economy.
Welcome to Spokane Talks Online and Candidate Confidential. I'm John Allison and happy to be joined today by two candidates for Spokane City Council District 3, Position 2, Candace Mumm and Matthew Howes. We'll take this break and get right to the conversation after this.
Hi, I'm Laura Lawton with Lawton Printing Services. Welcome to Candidate Confidential. We're happy to have you join us. We're happy to join Spokane Talks Online for this important civic service. The Lawton team has been serving the Inland Northwest for over 77 years. What keeps us motivated is the continuous evolution of our company to better serve the clients we work with every day. We are also fortunate to have so many people willing to step up to serve our communities. Being a candidate and civil servant is too often a thankless job. I know you join me in thanking these forward-thinking individuals for their dedication to us all. With that, I thank you for taking the time to learn more about the people who want to lead our communities. Enjoy the debate and give Lawton a call for any of your marketing, printing, or mailing needs. Thank you.
Back now with Candidate Confidential and District 3, Position 2 candidates Candace Mumm and Matthew Howes. Ms. Mumm, you won the coin toss, so the first question regarding law enforcement and crime. Can you give us 2 or 3 specific things that you as a city council member would advocate over the next 2 to 3 years to address crime in Spokane?
Certainly. So my background was being a crime reporter. I was a trained broadcast journalist and worked in Spokane and several other cities on the scene with law officers all the way up to the FBI down to local police. And I have to say we have a very good police force here in Spokane. But one of the things I noticed right away is we don't have enough. For our population and our growing population, we have remained stagnant for several years coming out of the recession. And what this has done is put a lot of stress on our police force. And when you make a phone call for an officer, you have to be prioritized. And I'm hearing stories in the community that our response times just are not what they should be. So we have asked in a letter from the City Council to the Mayor for this next budget in 2018 that we hire more police officers. We had a survey that was done and some research that was done by an outside consultant that said we need possibly up to 30 more officers, and we have to also look at how we're arranging our shifts. So the first thing is to hire more officers. The second thing I can tell you from my background is it's not just the response from our police. We also have to look at what the problem is in our community that is causing auto theft, that is causing property crime. And when you take a closer look at that and our legal system, we find that we have mental health issues and we have addiction issues in our community. So something else I'm looking forward to advocating for, if reelected, is working on the state level of returning supervision to our felony auto theft offenders and suspects. Some people may not know that several years ago, the Department of Corrections stopped supervising those offenders because they deemed them nonviolent.
Mr. Howes, your 2 or 3 top items on the crime agenda.
Thank you. Yes, my top would be also getting more police officers. I have been fortunate enough to be able to communicate with several police officers, and they have stressed to me the stress that they're under, having to go from all the way from the South Hill up to 5 Mile, just one call after another. They're not having the resources that they're needed. I think that we have neglected it now for several years, and we need to put more money into our police force so that they can do their job to the best of their ability and in a safe environment as well. I would like to also say that ever since that marijuana has become legalized, I think that has caused more stress to their job as well. And one of the things that I'd like to do is stop the advertising of marijuana, because I do believe that has definitely increased some of the crime as well.
How about paying for the new police officers? Is that going to be a problem for the council?
As far as paying for the police officers, I think that we need to prioritize our spending. Right now we are spending on so many things that I think that are unnecessary, such as road diets throughout the entire city. roundabouts that are unnecessary throughout the city. We're spending money in areas that are not important to people, and we're not spending and we're not putting those resources into infrastructure, fixing the roads, and police officers.
How do we pay for the police officers, Ms. Mumm?
Well, one of the things that when you're working in government budgets that you learn is that capital budgets, which pay for infrastructure, are different than operating budgets, which pay for labor and police. So the two don't mix. You have to stay within what is allowed for the operating budget. So let's take a look at that. Our officers are tasked with working a tremendous amount of overtime, and that is very expensive to our city budget. And this is something that I've had discussions with our mayor. I continue to work with the police chief on, is analyzing if we hired more officers, can we reduce that overtime, and could we have cost savings within our current budget in order to do that? It reduces burnout for our officers. It's better for their families. They're better prepared and rested when they go into stressful situations. There's a lot of great reasons to reduce that overtime and bring us back up to staff where we need to be. And I think we can look at that within our current budget, and I think that's what you're seeing hopefully roll out in 2018.
Mr. Howes, you mentioned roads, and that's our next topic, talking about the day-to-day function of a city government. And certainly roads are one of the things that every citizen sees on a daily basis, all the work that's been going on. What is your assessment of the state of roads? Are you happy with the work that's been going on? What is your position on that?
I am very frustrated with it. What I am seeing is that there are lots of roads still in needing repair from last year's snowfall and snow plowing. If you've been down Wellesley, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That is one of the worst roads in Spokane. There's so many roads all over Spokane just like it. Right now, I feel that the city council is putting only money into, again, road diets and things that people are not wanting, spending money in the wrong areas, such as remodeling city council chambers at $700,000. We need to prioritize our money. What we need to do is get our roads repaired, because that's city council issues, and that's what their job is to do. And we need to concentrate on our city to make it better.
And Ms. Mumm, the road situation in your view?
Sure. We are thankful that the citizens have supported the monies that will go toward improving all our arterials. And when we got that approved by the citizens, we did a prioritization. So I established, along with some partners at the city, a transportation subcommittee of the Plan Commission. I had served on the Plan Commission for 10 years and was elected twice as president, and realized that when the budgets come to us for the 6-year infrastructure plan, how did we choose which roads to pick? So we did a great analytical tool with our engineers to decide what are the roads that people use most, what are the conditions of those roads, and the investment, not just for cars, but for alternative forms of transportation to make it easier for the buses to access folks, for pedestrian safety. Where would we get the best return on investment? So that analytical tool is now being used to decide where that investment should be. We also did targeted investment. East Sprague just opened up. If you haven't been over there, you're going to see a whole new area, business district with upgrades for all users, all stakeholders. And we had a lot of damage from last year's winter with the potholes and tremendous stress on our roads that we knew needed some TLC. So we have new trucks coming. We have new front loaders and gates and smaller trucks to get through our narrower streets. We've done a complete reboot on how we're going to approach snow this winter, which will, I think, save us on cost, give us better streets and clear them quicker for folks. And we survived last winter together, but now we've made some changes, I think, to make it better next time.
Mr. Howes, another follow-up question on utilities, talking about water. Another thing that average citizens use every day, need every day. What is your assessment of the city's ability to continue to provide the level of water service that we do? And also, if you want to talk about the disposal of water through all of the storm water projects that are going on.
Unfortunately, when I was given this this morning, I was not informed that we were going to be talking about water, so therefore I didn't bring any information on what to bring, so I'm a little caught off guard on this.
Okay. Well, we were talking about utilities in general. So
Okay.
What other utilities issues do you see, if any, in the city?
Well, right now, I think that the city needs to concentrate on making sure that the city stays on track, getting road repairs done, like we had said before, getting our budget, making sure that we're spending money in the right areas. Constantly we are spending money on roundabouts, that are not necessary, such as Woodside got 3 roundabouts that was a huge waste of money. We're spending $700,000 on city council chambers. Right now, that's what we need to concentrate on. We need our city government to concentrate on quit spending money in the wrong areas and trying to fix our roads.
Ms. Mumm, your thoughts about water delivery?
Well, I have to tell you that roads are just part of the job. A huge part of our job is what we use every day, which is the water that comes out of the faucet and what you take a shower in. And I have to tell you, we became very aware of the sensitivity of water when we heard one of our partners out in Airway Heights had their water tainted with some contamination from Fairchild Air Force Base. We have an aquifer that we have to protect, and our community is spending over $300 million cleaning up the river and separating stormwater, because we've been mixing that with our sewer outflow and polluting our river, which is causing cancer, PCBs, a cancerous material going in to the river, and the EPA put us under an order. And I have to tell you, the city has risen to this challenge, and you've probably seen all the construction that's been happening this year with the CSO tanks, combined sewer overflow tanks that have been implemented. But the other thing you do when you serve on the city council is you're the de facto water board. And it's not just for the city of Spokane. We oversee a water plan for our citizens in the city to protect their water and make sure that they have adequate flow and that it's safe. But we also serve many other communities outside of the city. And our interties are critical to back up for our West Plains partners and for other communities that have well problems or run dry in the summer. So I have to tell you, being on the city council, there's a great responsibility to make sure that the community's water is safe for the health of the community. And also, we work closely with our power customers. We went through a massive outage when we had the windstorm, and the city crews had to go in, and we had all kinds of volunteers from our neighborhood making sure that those power lines got back up. It's a great responsibility, and one that I take very seriously, and work very hard to make sure that we deliver to our customers good utilities, affordable utilities. Also, waste disposal, your garbage that's picked up, and recycling. That's another job for being on the city council.
Mr. Howes, a question for you. There's plenty of indicators, at least to me, that Spokane is going through some growing pains. There's certainly large apartment projects going on in certain parts of the city that show change, the Kendall Yards development. I'd like to have you take a minute or two and just talk about your vision in terms of the next, say, 2 to 5 years for the city of Spokane, and what you would do to keep Spokane moving positively into the near future.
Yes, I definitely see that Spokane is growing. I was fortunate enough to go to the last real estate summit here in Spokane that they were talking about the Spokane growth. And again, going through this process for the first time running, I've been fortunate enough to be able to meet and introduce myself to a bunch of great people to get more of the information instead of pretending like I have all the answers. I'm out there talking to people, trying to figure out what's going on. So what I found was that Spokane is growing. Spokane's growing at a rate, if I'm not mistaken, they estimated 200,000 people in the next 20 years. So what are we going to do with those people? Where are we going to be able to, build? I'm all for, expanding, but we just need to have the right growth. Right now, one of the things that I'd like to concentrate on in my area in the Northwest Indian Trail area is I've talked to a lot of the residents. We would love to have a retirement community out there. We have nothing that would house a nice retirement community. Yes, there are a lot of apartments still going up, and those are definitely needed in certain areas, but growth is going to happen, growth is going, and for me, I would like to make sure that it's the right growth that each area wants.
And Ms. Mumm, the same question to you for the next several years in Spokane.
So this is really something I've been working on for the last 20 years because I come from the 5 Mile area, which is one of the most rapidly growing communities in our city. And what we know is that it's our job as a city to keep pace with the growth. Really, the free market decides where growth is going to happen, but where the city invests the tax dollars needs to be where the most people use it. And we also need to have a community conversation about how to build out areas areas that can support transit to keep our roads flowing freely, to make sure that people have a walkable, safe environment. And so what we've been doing as a city is working on targeted areas where we know we can accommodate more growth. We recently passed a larger area of what's called the multifamily tax exemption along areas that have room for that growth, which is up Division and some of our other corridors that were identified in our comprehensive plan over 20 years ago, which was a centers and corridors plan, which looked at the investment that the city had already made in schools, in parks, in infrastructure. So we aren't going out into a whole new area and having to spend millions of dollars starting from scratch. And what's great about Spokane is it was built pretty much on a grid system with these business centers. One area I'm really excited to work on is Shadle Center. Shadle Center has all of those things I just talked about. A great shopping center, great history. It's got the schools, it's got the park, it's got the library. And so we've brought together 2 neighborhoods who are going to be starting on a center district plan for that area, which is just ripe for investment and has great transit and great connectivity. So I'm excited to work on that.
Mr. Howes, there's certainly been some indications that the mayor and the city council have had at times a rocky relationship. There's some tension. Some would say that's good for the process. If you're elected, what role would you see yourself playing in terms of relations between the council and the mayor's office?
Absolutely, yes. I've noticed that there is a lot of tension between the two as well. I'm hoping that I will bring in some more ideas to the city council and be able to work with the mayor more so that we have a balance in our city government, a balance in our city council. Right now, we don't have a balance in our city council. Everything that one person votes, the other 5 tend to vote the same exact way. We've got one person that is more fiscally responsible, and that's what I want to bring to the table.
And Ms. Mumm, the same question for you in terms of relations between the mayor's office and the city council.
Well, I'm proud to say that I meet with the mayor every month. I have a good relationship with the mayor. And when we started, we said we're going to meet because my election 4 years ago really opened up the opportunity to have those dialogues. And so now we are actually doing strategic planning together. I serve on one of his advisory panels with the community and have worked with him on some of the great projects we've been doing in centers. And I think we see eye to eye on a lot. And I'm honored to work with some of the great projects on economic development. Next year, I'll be chair, hopefully, if the citizens decide to reelect me, of the Finance Committee and administration as well. So we have made huge progress with the tensions that you're talking about. But that's really how the citizens set this up. Strong mayor, strong council. We need to have checks and balances. And what I think I've brought to the table is more transparency, more openness. So when we do go and apply for grants, now it needs to come to the council. It's not just one person or the administration or staff's decision to say, this is what we're going to do. The other thing that we've done is we've done a lot more collaboration with our communities and our neighborhoods. We're having much more discussion when there is a big project coming. We bring the stakeholders together and really talk about how do we want to spend the money, what are our priorities. It's not up to the city council to decide exactly what's going to happen or some specificity about some road or dollars on a certain project in a park or anything like that. It's a whole community that comes together to make those decisions. And I think you're seeing a different kind of government now and a lot less of the sparks that maybe flew initially, because I think we've changed. And then I'll also address the independent voices of the 7 council. I think the other big change that you don't hear a lot about is there are now 4 women on the council, and we have changed the dynamics of what the majority looks like. And when you look at our votes, they are not all one-sided. It's very independent thought, and we all bring our own ideas representing our communities to the table. So you see different voting.
I want to thank you both for giving your thoughts and give you a chance to, each of you now, provide the voters directly, if you'd like, a summary of your positions and your pitch for why they should vote for you. And Mr. Howes, we'll begin with you.
Thank you. I'm Matthew Howes, running for a city council position, or District 3, position 2. I believe you should vote for me because I am ready to listen to you. I want to be the person that represents you the best. For me, the most important thing is being fiscally responsible. What I've noticed in the last few years is that the spending has gotten completely out of control. Everything from roundabouts to city council chambers, road diets everywhere. Spokane is growing at a very good pace, and right now all the city council wants to do is road diets. Spending $150,000 to solve the homeless problem on rocks, I think was a very poor decision. So if you want somebody that wants to look out for you and your tax dollars, I'm your candidate, Matthew Howes for SpokaneCityCouncil.com.
Mr. Howes, thank you very much. And we'll also hear now from Candace Mumm. Ms. Mumm.
Thank you so much. Well, 4 years ago, I was honored to be elected by the 10 neighborhoods in our district, and it goes all the way from West Central and West Hills along the river up to the Northwest area into Shadle and Emerson Garfield neighborhood, 5 Mile, Indian Trail, and North Hill. And we have accomplished a lot in 4 years. And one of the things that I'm most proud of is our new crosswalk ordinance, which puts an emphasis on where folks walk and pedestrian safety around our schools and our churches and our business centers and hospitals. We also have improved our hiring practices for women and people of color. I was honored to be the co-author of the city's first gender and racial equity report at the city. And I'm proud to say we have changed our hiring practices, and we are now doing different recruiting and encouraging folks to apply, giving them information about the city jobs that are available all the way through high school and down into the middle school, so we can reflect our community and do a great job of serving Spokane. We also have a new apprenticeship ordinance to train new workers, because we know that the unemployment rate has actually dropped in the city, and we need to have more trained folks who build our houses and build our roads, and so the apprenticeship ordinance is working toward that. But too many of us have become victims of crime. So police staffing is an important issue, and we need to have better police response and make sure that they have the equipment they need. Plus, we need to work with our partners at the county and the state for better oversight of these nonviolent criminals who interfere with our safety and our sense of safety in our community. So I'm Candace Mumm, serving you now as your Northwest Councilwoman. I would appreciate your vote when you get your ballot. Just remember Candace Mumm for City Council.
Thank you both for appearing on Candidate Confidential and Spokane Talks Online. I'm John Allison, and watch out for your ballots dropping toward the latter part of October in advance of the election on November 7th. Goodbye.